Welcome to Greenball. I'm Marie Crowe. In this second episode of 2023, we cross to Isobel Joyce in South Africa to discuss the latest news in Irish cricket, including Ireland men's return to Test cricket and the upcoming Women's T20 World Cup. We then chat to Gaby Lewis in South Africa as the squad prepares for the World Cup. And in our segment, Answer Me This, we talk to Jeremy Bray. Now, on with the show. And I'm delighted to say that Isobel Joyce joins us all the way from South Africa again. First and foremost, how are you getting on?
Great. We had a really good tournament, the ICC Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup. And yeah, working on that as a commentator was just a great experience and learning experience for me, and brilliant to see the girls in person as well as they were learning their trade. Such a young team as well.
Yeah, let's start with that because it was brilliant to see them and to be able to see them and to hear you as well. But just for the team, from a team perspective, how are they going to reflect on it?
I think they'll learn a lot from it. They probably should have won against West Indies, and then we're playing against some teams that would have been in much more professional setups than them. We've a really young Irish Under-19 team that was there, so a lot of them will be there for the next edition, and hopefully by that stage they should be, moving up the rankings, I would think, in that. And what was particularly pleasing was seeing Annabelle Squires score 50 in the last game as well. So that was, for me, a marker of where they travelled to from where they started in that tournament.
So obviously it's really important to have that pathway and for underage teams to look at the senior setups and wanting to get there. Do you envision many members of that squad at some stage making this step up to senior level, which isn't an easy thing to do?
I would think so. I would say most of our future team will be the girls that were in there, along with players behind them. And I'm sure there are players who didn't make it in there that will, develop a little bit later on. So it's not hard to see them developing into top level cricketers. But they have to get a lot more cricket in. And, something like, I was talking to a couple of people about it over here that, why not see an Irish Under-19 team in the Super Series along with the Typhoons and the Dragons and the Scorches, especially the year before the next edition. Maybe that's the best way for them to train together and play together, because they would have trained together a lot but not played together, that group. So, if they can select a little bit further ahead next time when they know a little bit more about what they're coming up against, that could be an exciting fourth team to go in. I don't know, totally off out of left field, but I can see them competing pretty well, especially if they've got some senior players in, like Amy Hunters and Georgina Dempsey's in there. Well,
you do always say that the more cricket that teams get to play at a certain level is what's going to benefit them for the future, what's coming down the track. It helps them improve, and it's where they get their learnings from. So I think that it's a good idea as well. And just in terms of when you look back at the performances, for you, was there standout moments, standout players, standout plays?
Oh, putting me on the spot there. I thought Freya Sargent and Amy Maguire probably in that first West Indies game. That was really exciting, the two spinners. And then Zara Craig and Georgina Dempsey, the two of them scoring 50s in one match when Ireland were in a bit of trouble against Indonesia, who they were, really needed to beat. I thought that was a big growing and learning moment for the two of them. So yeah, those are my two that I'm going to pick out, along with Annabelle's 50 that I mentioned already in the last game.
So we are on the verge of the Women's T20 World Cup, and again, it's an exciting time, but it feels like an important time as well for this team.
Yeah, we say that kind of every tour at the moment, don't we? Because they, there's a lot more pressure on them now. We're hoping this is the year, this is the tournament that they turn over one of the teams ahead of them in a World Cup. And it feels like, they should, especially after they beat Pakistan in that series before Christmas. So yeah, it's another opportunity for them to show that they're moving quite quickly up in their professionalism and in how seriously they need to be taken. Because they're the ones that everyone's aspiring to be. So those under-19s need to see the senior team being professional on the world stage, but it's also ahead of the women's IPL as well. So we want players being picked up in that, because that's going to be huge. We kind of probably don't have the international players playing on the circuit that other countries do, kind of like the men before this year. So we want, if they can just start getting up the rankings that way, that's another way of getting, bigger exposure and really cutting it with the top players.
Yeah, it's really crucial. Let's look at the tournament though. So we know that they came through a tough qualifying tournament in Dubai last September, and now they're in Group B. They're going to face England, India, Pakistan and West Indies. For you there, what should they be targeting?
I think Pakistan and West Indies. West Indies have been playing a series over here with South Africa and India, and they've really been struggling. So there, sometimes it can be one of those things when you play warm-up matches before a tournament, it actually hinders you rather than helps you. And I think this might be hindering them, because they've called up another 4 players from the under-19s to join the training squad. I don't know what the rules are with coming in and out, or maybe they're just going to practice or train while they're still here. But it kind of signals to me that they're not sure who their best players are, and that they could be a team to target at the World Cup. And Pakistan are always a team that Ireland target, because they're in similar ranking to us, especially after that win. So trying to win those 2 games, and then you never know about turning over one of the other 2.
When you're going in to face a team like England and it's your first game, like, what's the approach there?
I think we'll probably look to bat first. And if one of your players, especially Gaby or Orla, those 2 in particular, if one of those can come off and you get 140 plus, then, we saw what Nerves did in the World Cup final for England under-19s, and though the senior team are more experienced, if you maybe get Heather Knight and Nat Siver out, they might have a bit of a wobble. We've all seen it. So I think that's probably the way they'll be going into it. We play our best game, they don't play their best game, and see if we can win.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
Yeah.
They're such a young team. Well, I think it's young anyway, average age of 24. Maybe now at, when things are looking at more professional eye on things, like that's probably the age of most professional athletes. But 24 does still seem quite young. But from your perspective, is there enough of a mix between youth and experience?
It is very young, especially for a cricket team, because they say you're kind of, as a female, you're at your best at 29, 30. Not just for cricket, for any sport. So it is quite young, and we have a few 30 and upwards. So they're bringing up the average age a little bit, if you think of it that way. So it does signal how young they are. But it also means they're kind of together as a group, and hopefully they'll stay together for a number of years, and it'll be tough for the younger ones to get in. That's kind of what you want, that it's difficult to get in. So when you get in there, it really means something, and you've got the experience at club and maybe underage international level. But yeah, it's tough on them, and mentally it's difficult at that age to deal with the peaks and troughs. So great that they have Anne-Marie there, the psychologist. I saw she was flying out because she's a brilliant help with that, just the resilience piece, and it's such a long trip as well, how to deal with that.
What about conditions? Because it is different and it takes a while to get used to it, especially when you're coming from Ireland and it is not the nicest weather.
They have a good bit of time, and I think they'll relish the conditions. It was difficult for the under-19 girls, because they're up in Potchefstroom, which is the altitude is very, very difficult to deal with. So the ball travels through the air differently, and you can't get air in your lungs the same way as you can when you're in Ireland. So that's extra difficult for the under-19s, but it's not the same down in Cape Town. So it's a little bit more. Well, it is the air is the same as we would be breathing in Ireland, if you know what I mean. So they don't have that to deal with. And while it's hot, it's not oppressively hot like Chennai in India or anything like that. So it's friendlier than it might be, but still takes a little bit of time to get used to. So good to see them getting out quite early.
When you look at the squad now, and we'll say everything that they've achieved over the last year or so, pretty good summer, and then like Pakistan, just bouncing back after losing the ODI series to claim the T20. Do you think that they're developing, and in what areas do you see them developing most?
Yeah, they are developing, and it doesn't feel like they're actually at 100% yet. It's brilliant to see Laura's back bowling. She's absolutely massive in the bowling attack. Obviously, she's been batting through her injury, but she was back bowling in that World Cup qualifier and bowled that really important over that got us through. And that's what she has in her. She's got such a steely confidence, which is one of the reasons why she's such a good leader for that team on the pitch. But Orla Prendergast as well, she's constantly trying to get back from injury. So if she can hit her straps, that'll be a big area, because we didn't really have an out-and-out pace bowler, and she is that. So that's a real area of development. We have a few younger ones like Georgina that's, she's still growing and developing, and some younger ones below that. That's going to be exciting when they get big and strong enough to be proper pace attack, because we've always been kind of a medium pace, bowling the right areas kind of team. Ever since the Barbara MacDonald and Heather Whelan days, they used to be our actual out and out seamers. We haven't had many since then. So that's a big area. And then spin, Cara is still developing. We've got some young spinners coming through, like Amy Maguire. I think left arm spin, she's going to be brilliant. She's already grown in this year and in that World Cup. So that's the bowling side. And then batting is just going to be, the better our bowlers get, the better our batters are going to get. If you don't have good bowlers to face, then you can't really improve as a batting unit. So I think that's something we've seen in club cricket, that the top batters make huge amounts of runs because they face the best bowlers most of the time. And then just below that, we struggle because the bowling is not good enough for the batters to improve. I hope that makes sense.
It does. What would success be for them?
I think winning one match, really good success would be winning two.
Yeah, well, that's
it.
That sounds very achievable.
Yeah, I hope so.
Let's take a look back at 2018 when you were playing in the World Cup. What are your memories and what advice do you have for anybody that's going to their first one?
Well, my overriding memory is we just were completely undercooked. We did not train enough at all. And that came out in the review. So, I mean, the girls are in a very different program now. They're full-time year-round. So that won't be an issue. They've obviously been playing lots of tours and tournaments. But going into it, then you feel like you've done enough. So hopefully that's how they feel. And probably for me, looking back, I just remember knowing it was my last World Cup, and that kind of tainted it in a way. You get too nervous for the game. So hopefully there's no one at that competition that's feeling the same. So it won't affect them at all. But yeah, it's always just enjoying it, because I think I didn't do that enough in my career. You kind of very too focused on the outcome and not enough on the occasion and how much of an honour it is to play at a World Cup.
Yeah, a lot of people say that they don't enjoy the moments, and it's only when they've finished that they wish that they had maybe approached it a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember our hockey coach, making us, when we scored a goal in training, we had to celebrate, even though it felt completely forced, because he said we scored goals in games and we just jogged back to the halfway line. But, you look back now and think, you'd swear you score a goal every day the way we were. So I kind of have a little bit more sympathy for Premier League footballers with their celebrations now. Enjoy everyone. You never know if it's going to be your last.
But what was your go-to celebration?
I didn't do anything. I just was like, yep, okay, job done. Yeah, kind of, jump. Yeah, you had to do a sprint if you didn't celebrate. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, we definitely be celebrating. So,
yeah.
So let's have a look at some of the news over the last week or so. It's been confirmed that Ireland are going to return to Test cricket for the first time since 2019, after their tour to Bangladesh was confirmed for March and April. It's going to be, again, adding to how busy they are, but it feels a bit like we're talking about the women's game, just a really important moment.
It's really important, and I hope that they feel ready and prepared, because we haven't had 4-day cricket in Ireland. They've been focusing, as you need to in a small country, on smaller areas, and it's been T20 and ODI cricket. And 4-day and 5-day cricket's very different. So it's a big ask of the boys, but thankfully they want it. If they didn't, then it'd be really difficult. But they're, I'm sure, ecstatic and over the moon to be getting back to Test cricket. And hopefully it's a sign of, domestic longer form cricket coming back as well.
Is that something that you think they should be focusing on?
If they're going to be playing Test cricket, then yeah. there's only so much you can do in the time that's there. But certainly it's where younger players especially learn a lot, is in longer form cricket. And there's a huge number of those younger players who haven't played multi-day cricket unless they've been abroad, maybe in Australia playing where they played over 2 weekends. Yeah. So maybe if there's frailties in terms of technique, then those generally get ironed out over the longer form. It's not something that I would have played much of, but we don't play much women's test cricket. So there was only one Irish women's, and there's very little in the women's game at all. But in the men's game, it's the pinnacle, really. So I'm not surprised that they're itching to get back out there.
Yeah, and I guess there's been so much disruption over the last number of years that you kind of need to just grasp it and do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And who knows if they could have played multi-day cricket with all the restrictions? Probably not. But maybe this is the time now where it feels like we're at the other side, dare I say it. But that maybe next year or the year after we might see some games between the provinces.
So Josh Little will not be available for the test match due to his IPL commitments. Bit of a loss not being able to see him.
Yeah, but he might not have been selected for Test cricket either. You know, he's someone who has injury, and you don't always, not everyone plays every form. So it might be that Ireland, he's a precious commodity and they want him to focus on 50 and 20 over cricket. And you kind of go for more line and length type bowlers for Test cricket. So maybe that's why they're okay with that, along with the fact that the IPL just is the IPL. So, yeah.
Just one other thing as well, Izzy, in terms of news. So you've been away, so you might not have came on your radar, but the Irish Cricket Stadium got the green light over the last few days. Exciting times to the fact that it's going to be going ahead, and that there will be a facility like that, because facilities have been needed, so many of them really.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. It just feels crazy that at this stage, and it's the way the game developed in Ireland is the reason why we haven't had a stadium. But having the one place where everything can be based is absolutely massive. I'm really excited about it. It's just, it'll feel like we really have made the big time cricket in Ireland when that's finally up, and we've got hopefully we can make it into a bit of a home ground, and where Irish cricket has great records. Not that we don't love Malahide and Clontarf and the like, and Stormont and Breedy, but it'll be a real new era.
Yeah, because I think people love stadiums. Isobel, thank you so much for joining us. Now, I am delighted to say that Gaby Lewis joins us now ahead of the Women's World Cup. Gaby, first of all, there was some illness in the camp. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think there's an illness that has hit the camp over the last few days. But look, we're making the best out of a not so good situation. But we're on the mend, which is good.
Okay, so that aside, because that is a bit of a spanner, how were all the preparations going before that happened?
Good, really good. We got out here and we've been training well. It's good to get out, a good lead into our first group game, which is really, really positive. And I think we've obviously had a couple of girls at the Under-19 World Cup, and obviously Emer and Arlene in New Zealand. So it's nice to kind of get the band back together.
Yeah, that must be nice actually, just to have them getting that experience, particularly the 19s, and then coming to this and kind of stepping up into the senior group and getting all the learnings that come with it.
100%. I think, especially it being in South Africa, they've got a lot of knowledge in playing in these conditions, which is really valuable to us. So yeah, it's great for them to kind of have a bit of a break and then come straight back into training.
So what are the conditions like?
It's very hot, very hot. The UV is very high. You're out and you're loading on the sun cream at every half hour. So no, it's nice. There's a nice breeze, which is good. And yeah, we've been looked after super well over here. So our preparations are well underway.
The longer you play at the level that you're playing at, does it get easier to adapt to conditions?
Yeah, definitely. I think the more tours you have, especially generally the tours that we go on are in hot conditions. So I think we are getting used to that and kind of know what our body, and everyone's individual, but knows what works for us and what we need to do in our preparations. I know back in Ireland and in the Sport Island campus, we do a lot of work in the sauna and stuff to kind of get acclimatized to that heat. So I think it is working, and I think it does get easier every tour.
Yeah, I always wondered about that, actually. It's kind of like when you're going on holidays, you get more used to the sun. So tell me just about the camp. Like, what's the mood like? I know, as I've said, there's been a bit of illness, but is it a case that everyone's kind of raring to go now?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're kind of letting those that are affected rest and then kind of continuing on with our preparation. But yeah, no, it's really good. I guess it's to kind of get all our team stuff done over the next couple of days, because obviously we haven't been together. There's only so much you can do on Zoom calls. So we do have our analyst and our assistant coach aren't out here yet, so they'll be coming out over the next few days, because they were obviously at the Under-19 World Cup, so they've had a bit of a break in between. So once we all get together, it'll be great. But yeah, we're making the most out of a tricky situation.
So you've got such a young squad. Like, the average age is 24, but like, even you, Gaby, like, you're still so young, but have been a leader for quite some time now. How do you find kind of having that role and then having so many younger in age people anyway than you?
I quite enjoyed it. I feel like I am kind of a senior player at this stage, because I have played since I was 13. But to be honest, I don't really look at the age. I think it's other people that I like. But no, there's like a lot of us are leaders, and I think it kind of does put a bit more responsibility on those that are younger, which is really good. And I think especially with the induction of the Under-19 World Cup, that was super experience for Amy and Georgina to have, and kind of experience that pressure at that age. So then they can kind of take that into the senior squad and hopefully play a bit more freely and kind of be used to that pressure on them, do you know?
Yeah, because like the narrative always is that the more you're playing at that level, like the better that you're all going to become. And are you seeing that now because you're getting more consistent cricket at that level?
Yeah, exactly, definitely. And I think especially for those other girls who haven't experienced that, I think in the last like decade, obviously your first experience at that is at the senior level. So now that they're being exposed to that at an earlier age, hopefully by the time they get to this level, that they'll be well underway and kind of have less nerves, have less pressure on them, and kind of get used to that. And it'll only make them better at the same time and make them hungrier to want to get that cap of the senior squad.
We're in February now, which is absolutely crazy. February 2023. When you reflect on 2022, like, how would you sum up the year that you've had?
I think it was brilliant. I think to start it off with the win against South Africa in the summer was brilliant. I think it set us up really nicely going into the qualifiers. It was obviously a close game in the end, but I think we did have the confidence that we could. We knew we'd have the confidence in our preparation to qualify, and I think we finished it off super with that series win against Pakistan. And I think it shows all the hard work that we kind of put in there throughout the season. And yeah, we're really looking forward to get going in this T20 World Cup.
Yeah, like one thing that really stood out for me, and I think particularly in Pakistan, was the resilience that you showed to be able to bounce back and not be affected by any losses and to go out and get a win then.
100%. And I think, yeah, it was tough conditions and conditions that we maybe hadn't played in. It was very humid. It's obviously different to kind of like at the likes of the Sun and Abu Dhabi. And I think definitely we kind of, obviously we don't want to do well in different formats, but I think at the moment T20 does suit us a bit better. And I think we did. We obviously had the belief that we could win those ODIs, but I think once they were finished, we knew we these are the ones we can really, really get a hold of, and we did have the confidence that we could turn over not one game, get the series. So I think we really showed that, and it was brilliant to get it in the end.
Yeah, I'd say so. And why do you think that the T20 suits you better?
I think it's just the shorter. I think we do have quite a young squad. I think we are performing our skills well in that shorter format, and I think the next step is to do your skills for longer periods. And I think that'll come with the build of the schedules. We obviously, in the last couple of years, our workload is increasing with the games that we have, but it'll only get better with the years to come, and obviously our games increasing as well with the introduction of the World Championship. So look, we're really looking forward to it, and hopefully in come this summer we obviously have a few ODI series. So we're really looking forward to those too.
When the pro and the semi-pro contracts came about, there was a lot of talk about the pressure that you were going to have to deal with now, because the landscape had changed for you guys. But it feels now like that, you're kind of, last year's done, you've had that first kind of year, and now you're in your flow, like as in now it's just keep on building. Is that what it feels for you guys?
Yeah, I think it never changes. We don't really perceive it as our jobs. I think it's always been what we love, and obviously that is their extra pressure coming from the outside. But I think at the end of the day, we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it because we love the sport and love winning and love playing with each other. So yeah, I guess there is that side of it, and there probably over the next few years, as more people get into cricket and there will be more competition, and that'll kind of probably get into us over the next couple of years. But I think at the moment we're just really enjoying playing with each other, and especially on tours like this, because we, it's with people everywhere and then we all come together. It's what you kind of love doing, and these World Cups are the best. So
is there a strong Irish presence? Fans?
Oh yes, definitely. I think a lot of family and friends are coming, especially because it's obviously in Cape Town. It's a lovely holiday destination, and I think we're really looking forward to all the fans coming out, and hopefully some Irish fans here that are already living here will come watch us. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to. It's not often that you get to play in stadiums as well for those that don't get the chance that often. So yeah, it's going to be a great World Cup, and obviously, especially because we missed out on the last one, I think we're really cherishing this, and really looking forward to the opportunity.
Was that a motivating factor, the fact that you did miss out in the last one?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's something that we spoke a lot about in the qualifiers. We knew how hurt we were after the last qualifiers, and kind of using that as momentum as a motivation to kind of go out and give it your all. We obviously fell short the last qualifier, so it kind of gave us that extra boost to kind of, we never want to feel like that again. And yeah, I think it was that extra want that got us over the line.
So you're in Group B and you're going to face England, India, Pakistan and West Indies. What's the target there in that group?
I don't think we're not putting pressure on any game. I think we want to go out and look to win every game. I think focusing on ourselves and on what we can put forward to the game. I think as it showed in the Men's World Cup, like we beat England and they went on to win the World Cup. So I don't think there's any individual games that we're looking to target. I think we go out, we focused on performing to the best of our capability, and anything can happen in T20 cricket. So yeah, we can't wait to get going, especially with England first up. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. But if you were to, like, at the end of it, for you guys, like, what would success be now for you?
I think any game we win is a success. I think obviously we'd love to get through the group stages, but small wins at the moment. I think if we can win one or two games, we'd be absolutely delighted. And I think just kind of focusing on how we win those games and how we perform. If we perform to the best of our capability and we still fall short, then that's obviously we can only give as much as we can give with the resources. Obviously other countries do have a lot more funding, do have a lot more resources, but I think having that want, we have the extra motivation, and we're coming in as underdogs, and it's kind of the position you want to be in. Nothing to lose.
It really is. Gaby, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck over the next few weeks. Looking forward to watching you and see you got on. No doubt you'll do great.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Now it is time for our Answer Me This segment, and I'm delighted to say that Munster Reds head coach Jeremy Bray joins us now. Jeremy, first, how are you?
Very good, thank you, for a Monday morning.
Yeah. Congratulations on the new role. What's it look like for you now, just in terms of how busy are you going to be?
Yeah, obviously, I think it's going to be a very busy year. I'm still, working for the Hills Cricket Club on a full-time basis. So, yeah, I think it'll be double. Last year was extremely busy, so I can imagine now with a pretty heavy schedule with the Munster Reds. And I think there's going to be a lot of time off over the summer.
Yeah, I'd say so. And like, just in terms of looking at when you came through to how things are now, how much has the coaching evolved in Irish cricket?
Listen, good question. Just think, in general, it's just becoming a lot more professional. I think before there's maybe one or a couple of coaches, and I think the interprovincial sort of setup was very much a bit of a jolly when I was coming through, more of good to get away up to the north and have a few beers and all of that type of stuff. But listen, now it's just, it's just developed unbelievably so, which is great. I think not just for players alone, but obviously with the coaches coming through the systems here, hopefully there'll be, more exposure and more coaching time.
It must be an exciting time, though, to be part of it and to be starting in this new role.
Oh, absolutely. I think especially next year, I think with Cricket Ireland due a bit of extra funding from the ICC. So hopefully then, I suppose as a coach, all we want, is to be getting involved with, as much as we can with our coaching. So fingers crossed, this year, get through this and hopefully, progress on, to more, I suppose, being involved in the Interpros and who knows where else, with Cricket Ireland.
Absolutely. And was it something that you always envisioned yourself doing, a route that you always wanted to go down, coaching?
No, I was actually asked this question there the other day. It was by chance. Remember Mark Garraway, I think he was the performance director before Richard Holdsworth came in. And I was I was still playing club cricket, but finished with Ireland. And I was just heard some really good stuff about him. And just by chance, I arranged a meeting with him and, he put me in to the under-19s head coach role and then the women's, and it sort of just developed from there.
So what is it about coaching that you love? Because I always find that anybody that's kind of really committed to it absolutely loves it.
I think because I love the game so much. Literally, I think if you want to be a coach, you've got to be living and breathing it, which I certainly do. I don't think my wife gets too happy about that. I'd be waking up in the middle of the night thinking of, what am I going to do next to my coaching? And but yeah, and I think as well, I think the joy on people's faces when you can, when you're helping them and they see improvement, I think that's always a big driver. And just the fact, I think, with coaching, it's really, creating relationships it's just an integral part of, being a coach and being a good coach. And I've learned that, especially over the last few years, how important that is, and creating those relationships. You get to know people a lot better. So I suppose those things there, I'd find very, the ones that I enjoy the most when about coaching.
Well, my husband's a football coach, so I have total empathy with your wife. I'm so used to waking up in the middle of the night and seeing him with his phone in his hand, watching back games, just obviously woke up, started thinking about something and can't go back to sleep till he goes in and finds out exactly why something happened. So I get that. So we do have some set questions that we're going to get into, Jeremy, and I'm going to quiz you a little bit about your favourite things in life. I'm going to start with what you enjoy most about cricket.
What do I enjoy most? I suppose just being around like-minded people. I think that's I love watching it. Before when I was a player, I didn't really bother so much about watching it, but I absolutely love watching cricket, at all levels. I think that'd be the big thing. And then just being around like-minded people who love cricket as well, would be the two main things.
Growing up then, who was your cricket hero?
Probably two. Probably, Sachin Tendulkar and Adam Gilchrist. I was lucky enough to play with and against Gilchrist, get to see him firsthand. So definitely those two would be my favourite, cricketers.
What's been your personal cricket highlight so far?
Oh, cheapers. It's been so many.
That's a good place to start. You have some.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'd have to say, there's been so many great ones, but I think going away with the 2007 squad to the World Cup, we were, all great mates and we had such a great bond, not just over that tournament, but the few years leading up to that tournament, we were a very close-knit group. So yeah, I'd have to go with that at the moment.
I always find it fascinating as well when I'm talking to people who don't play the game anymore, whether they're kind of aware of their own achievements or records that they might have set. And when I ask highlights, then is that what they'll give? So you were the first Irish player to score a century in a World Cup. Is that something you're aware of, or does it ever even come into your mind?
I am, yeah. I was sort of reminded that a few times, yeah.
But not the highlight?
No, I think, there's been a couple of occasions, of course, on the big stage there, but I think there's other sort of memorable knocks and highlights that I would certainly put above that. But it's not to take away from the fact, Jeepers, scoring 100 in a World Cup's pretty special moment.
Absolutely is. So when you're unwinding away from cricket, what do you do?
I probably can't say this on radio. No, I love cooking, actually. I love cooking. I do a lot of cooking, Indian food especially. Yeah, I do a lot of that.
That's an interesting one now. Always been the case, or is something that you got into because nutrition is such an important part of sport?
Well, Indian's not the most nutritious food, so but no, something I was always interested in. But God, I suppose the last while, because my wife does most of the cooking during the week, so weekends, especially in the winter time when a little bit more free up, I'd spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I follow recipes off the YouTube and all of that, but I really enjoy that. Yeah.
That's a really good way to make up for being gone all the time coaching cricket.
Yes, correct.
So over your career, what was the best piece of cricket advice that you've received?
Oof, blimey.
Getting all the hard ones today.
That is a tough one. Best bit of cricket advice. Oh, I suppose, yeah. There's one that, yeah. I think about respecting the game massively, because it always comes back to bite you on the backside. And that's the one. That's another amazing thing about cricket, I find. You know, if you disrespect it, it comes back to nail you 10 times over. So I think that's the big. And you know, treat the highs and lows similar. You got to. It can be in a very emotional game, cricket. So it's being able to manage your emotions, you know, through the good times and bads. I think that would be the best advice sort of I was given around the game.
What does the perfect day look like for you?
Oh, I better say with my wife, yeah, first, so I get that out of the road, yeah, spending it with her. But then after that, it'd be at a cricket ground, and my kids, of course, but being at a cricket ground, you know, with, again, cricket people watching the game.
Do you do anything away from cricket?
No, not really. And I love the gym. No, I go to the gym. I really enjoy that. That keeps me sane. You know, trying to keep myself sort of half fit would be that'd be a big thing that I would do during the week. You know, try and get there, start the day off well, going to the gym. The cricket pretty much occupies, you know, 99% of my time. A cricket badger, you could call me.
Who has had the biggest impact on your career?
Playing wise, I suppose my dad was a big impact at a young age, but I think I was always self-driven regarding that. So just myself, in a way, may sound a bit, you know, strange, but on the coaching side of things, probably different coaches. I think, you know, Adi Birrell, I think Gary Kirsten, you know, and some great CEOs I've been lucky enough to work with, you know, in Denmark and, you know, in Vanuatu, you know, Tim Cutler and Alex Olsen, you know, now back here, just being back in the setup here, you know, the Hills Cricket Club. But yeah, I think those coaches that I've learned, you know, especially Adi, I suppose, you know, I always go back to the, you know, what made him a special coach. And obviously still now he is, you know, the jobs that he's gone to, and that they've made real impacts on people. So I try and think, you know, around those guys, what can I take out of those special people, for one, that could help me, you know, become a better coach?
I'd say when it comes to coaching, it's the biggest learning curve. Like, it's constant takeaways from everything that you're doing and seeing and watching and the people that you're meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I sort of, as I've gotten a bit older and wiser, I suppose, I almost equate, you know, coaching like to being a teacher. You know, really trying to help. The teacher doesn't give you the, you know, the sort of the answers to the questions. You know, the best ones will help you guide you along the way so you can find out the answers yourself. You know, and it's the same with cricket. The coach can't be out there on the field telling you what to do. You know, so I really try and employ that, you know, as part of my philosophy when I'm coaching is, you know, one, to try and create a good relationship with the individuals I'm working with, but truly let them experience their journey and be there to guide them along the way, because they're more likely to learn. If they find things out for themselves, I find they're more likely to remember better than if they're just being told the whole time, which I used to do when I was a young coach.
Yeah, that's actually quite an interesting one, because when you look even at other sports, a lot of the best coaches were teachers first. So like the Joe Schmitz, who's the Ireland rugby coach, John Kiley, who's the Limerick hurling coach. They've won lots of All-Irelands, Pat Lam, former Connacht coach. So there's definitely something in that. Now we have our quick fire questions to finish. So you can just give me the answer to the two options that I give you. So the first one is mullets, nifty or naff?
Geez, I don't know what nif and naff is. I'll go mullets, because I used to have one.
So are they nifty good or naff not so good?
Nifty is good.
Yes, we like that.
Not so good.
So sledging, is it part of it or park it?
Oof. Part of it, I'll go.
And the song that you've played most in the past month?
AC/DC, Rock and Roll Train.
These songs are so revealing. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us and for being part of Answer Me This. And we wish you the very best of luck with the Munster Reds and the rest of your coaching career as well. Thanks for listening, and join us again in the next show to discuss the Women's T20 World Cup and Ireland Men's Bangladesh Tour. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. Also rate and leave a review, as it really helps other fans find us. And if you have any questions, you can email us at thegreenballshow@gmail.com and we'll do our best to find an answer. Farewell for now.